Look for more exciting action figures and accessories at the end of this show. From Tiger.
Catch up on some fan mail. Now that I think about it, welcome to another episode of Vaulting, the lucky number 7 episode, the show where we take a 10-minute look at the interesting trivia and tidbits behind some of your favorite television shows and movies. You know, speaking of fans, I have to say, it's been an interesting year so far, creating these web shows as well as getting to know the public a bit.
So, what oddity do I have for you today but a nostalgic staple of Saturday mornings? A strange world full of monkey people, stop-motion dinosaurs, and green pajama lizards that say nothing but...
Now, in spite of all this summer, I'm taking a look at Land of the Lost. But not the Land of the Lost you know, seeing how this is a show that takes a look at the lost television shows. But first, a little quickie history.
Sid and Marty Krofft are infamously known for creating the weirdest yet highly creative TV shows. Despite questioning their sanity, everyone can agree they have a lasting impact on the cult classic community for their stylized choices. But of all the memorable ones, Land of the Lost always seemed to be the well-recognized. The premise dealt with a father and 2 kids who plunge into the strange world and try to survive its bizarre inhabitants and dangers. Looking past the campiness and a short 3-season run, it was a fun show that hinged on survival and some nice morals. Though for some bizarre reason, in 1991, viewers got treated to a remake of the series, which debuted on ABC's Saturday morning lineup.
It's the best.
Winnie the Pooh is where it's at. Land of the Lost will take you back. Darkwing Duck will run amok while Beetlejuice will just hang loose. Hammerman, go bust those crimes and hammer down when it's hammer time. Pirates mean treasure. Dark water means adventure. Bugs and Tweety play coast to coast. Then Slimer and the Busters toast those ghosts.
Then again, when your new show is sandwiched between the new adventures of Winnie the Pooh and Darkwing Duck, can you really complain with that?
Which is why all this summer, for these 3 straight months, I'm taking a look at one of my favorite childhood classics, the 1991 Land of the Lost remake series. And the best part is, it's in 3 parts. So, let's start off the show, shall we? Let's, hey, heck with it. Let's see what the theme song was like for the 91 version. This is going to be a long summer.
Okay, let's start with the family. Inside of the Marshalls, we get introduced to the Porter family, a San Francisco bunch who, much like the Marshalls, are trapped in a world and fight to survive its perils. The dad, Tom, normally seemed to be the moral one, churning out one PBS lesson after another while going against prehistoric beasts. I won't knock this down too much, as the standard for most kid shows was have a character like this, and to be fair, there are certain episodes that put him in situations that make you wonder how he'd be able to get out.
Yes, we thought he ate you.
Almost did. Yeah, hit him right in the kisser with the old boot trick. Slowed him down a little, just enough.
Even if some of those escapes can be a bit of a letdown. The kids are not too bad either, yet fall into the trap of a standard family trope. The daughter, Annie, is such a nature lover to the point she could rival Lisa Simpson any day. You know, the kind of character that acts smart and appreciates the flora and fauna.
I just saw Triceratops.
You just saw a Triceratops? Right there?
He looked at me and I smiled and he walked away.
Annie. The old Kevster knows a little about dinosaurs. And a Triceratops would never in a billion years do that.
I am the Lizard Queen!
On the other hand, she is not as bad as Kevin, the cocky son that always gets into trouble, thinks he knows it all, and seems to cause problems as opposed to solving them. Oh, and apparently he has a knack for videography. Because that was big in the 1990s, right?
Man, with all this footage, we get back to the real world. I'm gonna own Hollywood.
But I can't bash on him too much. There are times where he can be useful for his driving skills and proves to be some help. But don't worry, they're not alone in this harsh world. In the first episode, Annie discovers an egg left over from a T-Rex rumble and decides to bring it home. Anyone want to take a wild guess what is under that shell?
You do realize that thing is going to eat you. I just know it's going to eat you. Is that lizard thinking what I think it's thinking?
Gross! You got lizard snot all over me.
He likes you, Kevin.
Talk about jungle love. So yeah, throughout the whole season or so, they get a pet named Tasha, who's apparently this lizard thing that... It's a pet. That's all I can say.
On the bright side, the Porters also have some neighbors. And they are badass.
Who is that?
Whatever she speaks, it's definitely my language.
Enter Krista, a blender mix of Tarzan and Xena who sort of acts like a guardian of the jungle. It's hinted that she originally came from San Francisco, but that's one origin story they say for Season 2. For a sidekick, she has a Pakuni that is loyal. At least when he needs to be. Odd how in the original show there was a Pakuni that acted the same way. He was always mischievous and helpful when needed to be. His name was Chaka.
Ah, was Chaka cute. Now that I think about it, even though that this remake may look like it's gonna drag on just a hair, can we at least hear what the monkey's name is?
I stink.
Yes, I know you stink. You probably smell really bad. Now, what's your name?
I stink.
Look, I don't care about your BO. All I just need to know is your name.
I stink.
I don't care about your smell. What is your...
I stink.
Wait a minute. Can you make it more clear, please?
I stink. Eddie Porter. I stink.
Are you kidding me? The monkey's name is Stink.
Well, hello, Stink.
Hello, Eddie Porter.
Wow. Suddenly this show has stunk a new low. So you're probably asking yourself, for all you fans out there who know the show well, where are the Zalise stacks? And for those who don't know, I can't explain. You see, Zalise stacks were these lizard creatures that ran around in the 1970s show. And they literally looked like men in green pajamas. Of course, due to budget cuts, and because of how low-tech it was, they were only resorted to 3 Zalise stacks. And throughout the whole show, they were chasing the Marshall family almost week after week, threatening them with little mini crossbows and going... So let's see what they look like in the 90s show. Holy crap! They're advanced.
Yeah, despite the charm the 1970s series had, these green-suited monsters desperately needed an upgrade. They were menacing, but never left that big of an impact. The 1991 version, on the other hand, well, look at them. Just look at them. They're like mutated versions of the Predator alien and the Skeksis from the Dark Crystal.
I mean, what would you rather get attacked by? The green pajamas Lee Stacks? Or the automatronic, holy crap, in your face, I am definitely gonna bite your head off Zalee stack that they used for the 90s version?
Though for some strange reason they can only afford 3 Zalee stack creatures. Small and joke to the original, or the possibility the show's budget was too low to afford an army of these things. You be the judge.
One of them being their head leader, Shung the Terrible. As it's mentioned in the first episode, he came from a world filled with Zalee stacks. But apparently he was kicked out when he became too much of a tyrant. But I will say though, seeing how cheesy that the 70s Zalee stacks looked, the 90s version looked like they could definitely kill you in an instant.
Enough! Of all the stupid toad suckers that lived in the underworld, I ended up with the 2 dumbest of all. Now get out of my sight! You upset my digestion.
So far, I can't really say this is a bad show, but this remake isn't without its flaws. It's cheesy and clearly a product of its time, but when it's good, it can be really good. The special effects and jungle sets are a definite improvement and widen the possibilities of the world. If the family was a bit stronger like the original, I'd be okay with some of the clunky moments, but that's what makes a cheesy show like this all the more nostalgic. But don't think we are done just yet. There's much more to talk about on this underrated Klopman diamond.
That's my show for today. I'll see you on the next upload. Wait a minute. Where'd all the color go?
They're trapped. Annie, Krista, Tasha, and Kevin are being chased by Shung.
He's still behind us.
I've got you now, human.
Oh, no, we don't.
One down, but here comes Scarface. And Tasha's ready for it.
Run for it!
Your history, Shung.
No!
Land of the Lost action figures from Tiger.
When I look all around, I can't believe the things I found. Now I need to find my way. I'm lost, find me. Living in the land of the lost. Living in the land of the lost.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Vaulting. Shall we take a look at the movies, television shows, and the interesting tidbits behind them? Well, a while ago I was taking a look at Land of the Lost, the 1991 television show remake, which I truly enjoyed my childhood. Unfortunately, recently, for episode 8, I had to take a break from it for a certain reason, but I'll get to that later in the show. In the meantime, let's pick up where we left off.
For those tuning in, the 1991 remake of Land of the Lost was a unique update of the campy Sid Marty Krofft classic. The series dealt with the adventurous Porter family going up against dinosaurs, tyrannical lizard creatures, monkey people, and the obligatory jungle girl.
Oh man!
This version contained updates that were somewhat welcome, and others that were kind of debatable. Regardless, the show lasted for 2 whole seasons on ABC's Saturday morning lineup in the early 1990s. It's difficult for me to say whether this was a success or not, but it did gain some syndication around Nickelodeon, so I guess it counts for something. In terms of how the show is written, there are aspects where it feels matched to the 1970s version, where it all hinged on survival. However, tone is where things get different. The original was campy, but it worked with the material they had to deliver an adventurous entry. The new version, in comparison, feels a tad lighter. It's hard to describe why, but let me put it like this. In the original Land of the Lost, there was an episode where they discover a diary from someone who was in the land who might have found a way out. They follow the clues, but find in the end the guy didn't make it to get that far. Oh, worst of all, there was this twist.
If ye be reading this by now, ye know this is not the way out of this miserable, God-forsaken land. Peter Koenig, a private in General Washington's Revolutionary Army.
Now, silly as it sounds on paper, the delivery and implication works well. As cheap of a show it was, there were moments when you would feel the serious tone of the situation, and even it wouldn't shy away from dark moments like that. The new one feels more paced for sitcom fodder. Something strange happens, the porters check it out, crazy things happen, and it all gets resolved at the end with a moral lesson. This is a formula that wouldn't be repeated too often, but it seemed to be a staple of the show. So much that you could probably make a drinking game out of it. I can't say it was all bad, though. There were times when it did mirror the tone of the original. An example is the power play episode where the batteries in the electronic devices they have start to die off. The father Tom believes the crystals the Lee stacks collect might have the same amount of voltage to help power up the flashlights and radios. Bit of a silly idea, but it's a kid's show. They already presented how powerful crystals are in the land, so why not? This somehow leads to a remake of an episode from the original where the father's trapped in the pit with Lee stack. Even if the two can't stand each other, they at least work together to make it out alive.
We will have to be careful of my people once we are out. They will not understand our helping each other.
We call helping one another brotherhood. It's something that all living beings should make a part of their life.
Yes, it would be good to have this brotherhood.
Hand me another bolt.
Here, it's changed up a bit where he and the villainous Shung get trapped in a cave. If that wasn't enough, the T-Rex Scarface is on the other side, hoping one of them would make a nice hot meal. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. In the original, there was a T-Rex named Grumpy that kept chasing down the family and was a recurring villain on the show. Here, they have a T-Rex with the same purpose, at least performed in better special effects, but instead they have him named Scarface. Get it? Because it has a scar on his face!
Where'd you get that beauty scar, tough guy? Eating pineapple?
Anyway, the two of them are stuck and squander about how they should either work together or not at all. It's an interesting thought having your villain with your hero and debate if they should put their differences aside or take the moment to kill each other. To its credit, it ends on probably one of my favorite moments from the show. After Tom escapes with some crystals, he realizes just how important good and evil need to coexist.
I have no love for Shung either, but if we do that, we're no better than he is. I know Shung acts like an animal. It'd be easy for us to do the same, then we'd be just like him. But without our humanity, what's left? Will we truly be back in the Stone Age?
And that's all you need. While the speech itself is a tad preachy, again, it's fitting for a goofy show like this.
Well, Season 1 was pretty much a favorite of mine. It was good, it was down to earth, and it never was going out raw in the open. That was until Season 2.
Ironic seeing Season 2 and 3 of the original greatly deviated from the tone of the first season. We very much get treated to aliens from the dimension, and Uncle Jack. But we don't talk about Season 3 of Land of the Lost. Season 2 of the remake was more outgoing, but not to the point of jumping the shark. At least, not too much. There were some solid moments, like an episode where they find their old neighborhood, but find out it's all just an illusion. As a kid, this always stood out to me as a very creepy episode. Today, I see it as a cheap Twilight Zone scare, but I can't say it's without creativity. The scary thing is we never find out why this deadly neighborhood appeared to begin with. It just comes and goes. A lot of the original was like this, with things appearing and just going. You never knew if it was part of the world or just something new entering in. Even the monsters got interesting. In one episode, they introduced a new creature called the Miserian Cyborg, a beast from the future with advanced weaponry. To date, he is the only monster to ever knock out Scarface in battle. This monster was so cool looking that it even got its own toy.
How do we fight something so powerful?
Man, call Sigourney Weaver.
Who's Sigourney Weaver?
It's a shame that such a cool creature only got utilized for 2 episodes, and one of them is not even that good. Maybe if there was another season, there would have been more elaborating on this being, but at least it was seen while it had the chance. But alas, even Season 2 fell victim to living up to expectations. A lot of ideas and concepts found itself going into goofy kids show syndrome, resulting in a lot of lame and flat execution. Signs can be seen in one episode where a sorceress named Keela enters a land while being chased down by a sorcerer who wants to use her power for evil. Please tell me you don't see the faults in that one sentence. It's bad enough to have one-note ideas, but this was about as generic as it could get. The biggest highlight of Keela's first appearance was when she gave Tasha the ability to speak for the first time.
Oh good, she can speak. Well, this is going to be interesting hearing what she has to say.
Boys! I want to talk about boys! Boys! So there I was, all dressed up in no dino to dance with. So then this herbivore hip-hop spy and I'd go, whoa! He's kind of cute for a Stegosaurus. But like his big, ugly feet.
Make it stop! Make it stop!
Anyway, this dead muffin is really...
Oh, thank you, Stink.
Thank God that was the only time when Tasha could talk. Can you imagine how that would have been if she did that throughout the rest of the season?
Well, I guess I couldn't ramble on around Season 2 anymore. I mean, there were a couple of interesting things. Like, for starters, we get to learn about Krista's origin, the fact that she originally had a family and she grew up with a merman, some sort of half-human, half-fish. Nowhere near as close as the one used for Kevin Costner's Waterworld. Of course, we first see him as a beastie creature, but later on we get to know him a bit better as Krista's caretaker. And if you ask me, I think he's a really cool guy. I honestly have nothing else to say about that, but other than the fact that it finally fills in a hole that fans have been pretty much asking for. So, this is really quite interesting backstory to hear, especially for someone who's been trapped on an island for quite a long time. But at least we get to hear of how it happened. I guess the last thing to say about this is pretty much one of my major disappointments over Season 2, and that's the final episode. It was not a final episode. Honestly, this is the plot. Stink fakes a leg injury while Kevin has to watch the treehouse, and so he has no choice but to take care of Stink, even though Stink is faking it. That is pretty much the plot. It's that disappointing. There's no grand finish. Instead, they finish it off with this episode which should have at least been written better, or should have been written as a more grand finish to Season 2. The only good thing about it is this final confrontation with Scar. This time, he fights a Stegosaurus. And that's probably the only good and epic thing about this episode. Major, major, major disappointment. But of course, I can't ramble on the series any longer. I grew up on it as a kid, and I enjoyed it. But looking back on it now, I probably might have said this already in the first episode. It's not the masterpiece I knew it was when I was growing up with it.
I said it once, and I'll say it again. This was a goofy series that knew when to be taken goofy and when to be taken serious. It's a piece of my childhood I hold dear, seeing the amount of creativity behind it. Did it get too out there at times? Yes. Were there moments when it had a lame episode? Absolutely. But some of it still holds up, despite the outdated and campy tone, which is also what made the original Land of the Lost memorable. As of this episode, the 1991 Remake series has yet to see a DVD release, which is rather disappointing. The show did get released to home video, but on VHS. Only 12 episodes of Season 1 made their way to videotapes, leaving one episode not on VHS. The rest, including Season 2, remain unreleased, but fan copies have been fooling around online.
And luckily this one I'm holding in my hand here is something I've been holding on to for quite a while since I got it. And I'm very glad it still works too, despite its age. So what else do I have to say about Land of the Lost before I end this? Well, it's not a bad show. It's not a perfect show, but it's something that is at least enjoyable.
Despite a couple of unusual and out-of-place storylines here and there, it still has a lot of nostalgia factor behind it. Just something to revisit once in a while when needed. Without a doubt, this is one land I'll be getting lost into more often.
And so, there you have it. Well, anyway, as I mentioned earlier, you're probably wondering why I had to hold off Part 2 for a while.
Early in the summer, a big-budget adaptation debuted, but greatly bombed at the box office. Originally, these episodes were intended to be a tie-in to the movie's release, but when your feature flops, well, it flops. The movie starred Will Ferrell and was more of a loose adaptation of the 1970s series. Instead of being a charming Saturday morning tone, this one was more adult-oriented, trying to be more along the lines of the Brady Bunch movie or Starsky and Hutch. I remember not hearing one good thing about this movie. Well, aside from Roger Ebert's view, oddly. I even find it weird to mention Brad Silberling directed this. Yeah, the guy who did Casper and a series of unfortunate events. At least I know he's not a bad director and trying to make some of this material work. Still, fans and viewers were divided about writing it off as crap or just enjoying the camp value. It was even overshadowed by the release of The Hangover, which became a monster hit on its impact at the box office. If you want my 2 cents, I think it's okay. There's parts of it that are cool and parts of it that really suck. If I compare it to the legacy of the original 1970s series, it falls flat at being respectful to the source material. I did like the redesign of the Solis stacks, and some special effects are kinda cool. The main leads are something to be desired, with Will Ferrell being, well, Will Ferrell, and Danny McBride having hit-and-miss moments. It's not the worst thing out there, and at least it has elements from the series. But even I can agree with some by saying there are plenty of big missed opportunities here. So, hope you enjoyed this episode I have here, and I hope to see you on the next upload. Until then, have a good day.
Great beast has entered the land of the lost. And he's chasing Tasha. Right into Shung's trap.
Take that, Shung! This way, Tasha! Quick! Yuck, that beast will eat anything!
Land of the Lost action figures and accessories, each sold separately.
Ooh, cool TV, funny hoo-ha.
That's more cool TV. But the moves are up next, the Wild West of the Cowboys of Bubisa.
Cody and his 2 friends follow a secret diary, haunted by a silver moon.
Think, smell trouble.